everyone. A very good evening, morning, and afternoon to all those who have joined us today. I'm Rashika, one of the co founders at ProApp, and we are here again with another insightful workshop. But before I start, I'm more than excited to announce that we recently partnered with ATP List to help the design community grow faster and better in their careers with the mentorships from the design experts like John itself today. We have already conducted with one workshop with them, and we'll keep you updated about more of them to the people who have joined today and maybe the entire ProApp community. I'll share more details about it in the chat section. You can save it and check it out later. Okay, coming back to today's workshop, we have John with us talking about the trending designer problem we have, which is designing for Web 3.0. John is a product designer. He focuses on product strategy, design management, UXI, UI, and interaction design. He has been working in the industry for 4 years, and industries like healthcare, sports, education, and he's currently working as a product designer in one of the bank which I personally love, is Citibank. He previously founded D&D Smart Labs and is currently working on building a product design school. His work with collaborism was also featured in New York Times in the entrepreneurship section. He also mentors aspiring product designers and help them get started and level up in the design career journey. I think that's all of me today. John, over to you.
Thank you for the introduction. And yeah, you guys are doing an awesome job. And when I started as a designer, so many resources didn't exist. So you starting all these initiatives are really great for the design community. Thank you for having me here, and happy to walk you guys through the Web3 and all. What's the hype about? Yeah, I'll start sharing the screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, UX designer. So yeah, I think this is awesome because we'll probably going to focus mostly on like digital product design and things like that. Okay, so let's get started. So we are going to talk today about designing for Web 3.0. And then they already gave me an introduction about me. So they covered everything. But yeah, I've been currently working for Citibank and previously worked in healthcare and sports and VR and all that stuff. So I've been very excited about how design can drive innovation. So when I went for my master's program here in the US, I explored a lot of projects and avenues and different industries. And I think in Web 3.0, that kind of everything comes together. And yeah, one of my thesis was in virtual reality education for healthcare students and stuff like that. Like Metaverse wasn't a thing or a word that time, but then now it became a thing and mainstream topic. But yeah, the one big question of my career is what I approach my career is how design can drive innovation. That is something I'm fascinated about. So every time new technologies comes, I'm like, go and ask the question, what can product UX designers or any general designers can do in this industry? So I've kind of gamified this presentation a bit. We have 5 levels, which we will go through today. So we will start with the level 1, which we will go on like discovering and understanding what Web 3.0 is. I can't really see the chats here, but I'll see at the end of it. But we will have an open discussion and a Q&A at the end. I've also put together like a resource document as well. We can go through it if we have more time and stuff like that. And the level 2 is going to go into understanding different product types, service types, designer roles, and some projects sneak peek. There's a spelling mistake there. Anyways, sneak peek, and then we will go into level 3 where we will dive deep into like NFTs, and we'll also have an exciting, what do you say that, an exercise which we're going to do in Figma, and you can go home and try today and create your collection very quickly. So I want you all to go with something that you'll learn, and also make sure that I'm showing some projects as well, and not just it's going to be very like theoretical or just the economics of Web3. We'll dive deeper. This is, I think, the core theme of this webinar is to understanding roles and opportunity as a designer. This is a bit inclined towards the product UX, UI designers and stuff like that, but I have made sure I include few other fields of design and things like that. And finally, we'll just go summarize with a happy note and things like that, and we'll have an open discussion. So let's start with the level one. Let's start with start with Dieter first principle of design. He said like good design is innovative, and he mentions that innovative design always develops in tandem with the innovative technology. So as the technological innovations that happens, and then the design kind of grows along with them. It's not like we primarily design for people. We primarily about problem solving. However, the technology plays a major role, how people interact with technology and things like that. Um, so before understanding Web 3.0, it's absolutely important for us to understand what is Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and how did you even come to this point. So Web 1.0, that's the beginning of the internet, where there were just like static pages. There was just text and hyperlinks and things like that, basically just an HTML. Users didn't really participate in this content, or they didn't create content. It was just like read only kind of a document. And that's where the Web 2.0 came and kind of like transformed Web 2.0, where it becomes more users started getting more involved in the internet. They started creating content, all this TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and it became more about user generated content. And then what happened is like companies started forming a bit of monopolies there, and they started taking control of the user data, and then monetizing it, the activities and things like that. So there are a lot of problems that exist currently in the Web 2.0, which Web 3.0 promises to solve. So Web 3.0 primarily focus being decentralized internet. What it means is it's not owned by one company or one entity, but it is owned by the people, and it's distributed and it's decentralized. It's not centered to one organization and things like that. It's built on blockchain. We'll understand what blockchain in a bit. And it focuses on like community driven openness, self-governing. Guys might heard about DAOs and things like that. It goes into like having its own organization which run by the community. But also it comes with a lot of responsibilities on the users to take care of their own data and things like that, which creates a lot of challenges in users to transition into Web 3.0. However, all these insights which I've captured, all this work is solely my research and my findings, and this doesn't represent any organization or company or employers like that. And some of the projects are independently done in my past, just putting it out there. So let's understand blockchain, because this is the core technology this Web3 is built upon. It's basically a digital ledger which distributed in the entire network of computers on a blockchain. And you might be like, whoa, John, what's that? Distributed ledgers, uh, network of computers? Yeah, I can understand there's a lot of jargons in this. So basically, think of it, I use like an analogy to explain. Think of it as like a glass box, and you can see the content inside it. And then you can verify the information, but you can't change it. And it's like series of blocks that are connected together. So that creates the openness, transparency, and you can verify things. So like you might heard like NFTs and stuff like that. It's easier to verify who's the owner and things like that. And it's in a chain. This chain is like not owned by anyone. It's like peer to peer. What that means is like one networks of computers and not by one central entity and things like that. That makes a blocks of chains. Yeah, unless you are a developer, there's a huge history behind blockchain. Unless you're a developer, you don't have to dive deep into it, but just understanding what it is as a concept helps you bit into, leverage all these possibilities that happening. So that's one of the animator. I got this from Lottie Animation. He created this illustration animation, which is like blocks and which has like your content in it, and is connected through a network of computers and things like that. I'll also include some deep dive articles which helps you dive deeper into the history of blockchain. And there's a lot that's went behind in technology wise to come to this point where it's like ready for the consumer, or at least like a little bit at least, because there's a lot of challenges currently existing today with the blockchain. So there are values Web 3 point, depend on. It's like a culture that is started. It's not just a hype. It's a culture on the internet. It's community driven. Guys might be seeing a lot of Discord that's happening, Telegram, and all these groups and stuff like that. It's about openness. It's about decentralized, not being centered to one entity. So if you heard of something called like dApps, like decentralized apps, because they're like decentralized in nature, and it's very inclusive and secure. This is a promise Web 3.0 brings, but there are also challenges currently with we do say it's secure, but there are still of like scams that happens and there's a lack of trust. But the thing is like, it's really harsh to judge it at this stage because it's still in like a baby stage. It's like a baby and it's like growing with time. So there's a lot of failures that's going to happen, and you might see a lot of products like start and then die. So like, do not lose hopes. But then this technology is definitely something promises, and just try to live up to this promise of being community driven. There was an interview I read through this product hunt article. He is the product lead at Alchemy. So he mentions this issue. He says that in Web 2.0, the user's need and the business needs were never like aligned together. But in Web 3.0, it's different. It's focuses more on the community first. So you as a UX designer, you might do all the research, but at the end, like it's a business that what else that runs. But good products, they focus on understanding the users and things like that. So he mentions that. So instead of trying to create behaviors that are not good for the users, Web 3.0 kind of focus on understanding the community and building the products around it. So it's going to be more user-centered internet, and I think that's a good thing for all you designers out there, because we are primarily about understanding people and creating products around it. So now you guys completed level 1, which gave us a quick insight about what Web 3.0 is. It's not just about cryptos and all this investments going down, up, down, but there's a huge culture that is coming with terms of Web 3.0. So there's already products out there. It's not like there's nothing happening, but there's already product which can use nowadays. One of it is the Brave browser. It is kind of replacement for the current browsers, which tracks your data and sells you ads and so many ads and stuff like that. And they won't even like monetize to take off the ads and things like that. So this browsers try to solve this ads issue by showing that they're showing the value proposition here on the UI. This many tracker, this what is ads were blocked, this much data was saved, and also this value like saving your battery and things like that. And they make sure that you are protected from all this tracking that is happening in Web 3.0 and stuff like that. So these are like the products you can uh, get your hands on and explore and things like that. So it's absolutely important for product and UX designers or any designers you are in to understand the products and service types before we go into like this design opportunities and stuff like that. We got to understand this product types, because like it's really hard for you to like master or get really good at all these branches that's happening in Web 3.0. So you got to like focus on bit of the specifics, industries and verticals and things like that. So you guys might be hearing a lot of this product, right? It's all over the media. It's really hard to ignore that change that is happening. But one the popular, you're seeing like finance, you can seeing like the social experience. You are seeing in like marketplaces where you can buy and sell NFTs and stuff like that. And the one is the gaming. Gaming is one of the industry that adapts to innovation very quickly. And you guys have seen the change, the trend in the financial products and stuff like that. It's being more accessible for people day by day. So like in finance, there are like investing apps, there are like lending and borrowing, farming, and other things like that. And social experience has mostly been with like Metaverse, which is chat rooms, education platform, events, and things like that. And the marketplaces has mostly been about NFTs and digital content collections and stuff like that. And gaming, you might have seen like VR-based games on Oculus, and NFT reward-based games and stuff like that. So there's a lot of like different product and services types that are coming. So you kind of have to identify which direction you need to go instead of trying to do everything. But it's good to learn all about everything. But if you are trying to pursue one path, it's important you understand the different industries that happens in this place. Let's start with the exciting one, the metaverse. I picked this first one because like my thesis was in VR education and stuff like that. So I got to learn the value of virtual education platform and things like that. I think it's a not to replace the existing in-person experience, but then it just makes accessible to distance places and stuff like that. For example, I'm currently in California. I can't come to India and give this talk, but I can be on Zoom and things like that. So here we are doing like in a flat screen, right? You are in like in a flat screen. You don't really see the presence of me or entire me talking and things like that. But metaverse is like a virtual world, which is like has like 3D environments and experiences. There's a misconception about metaverse is that it can you can access it solely through the VR glasses, but you can access it through web browser, your phone, and you can even go after this and explore few metaverses from your browser and laptop and things like that. These are basically 3D world experience, and then this is an image kind of illustrated. So these are these existing products I explored and currently that exist in the market, and they are promising. And many projects die out in this space. Okay, so like I'm not endorsing any of this product. It's just I tried them out. I liked it. So like there are like portals which is focused on like chat room experiences and stuff. For example, here we are having a chat. There they meet in a 3D world to have like a chat session and stuff. Sandbox that looks promising. It's basically like an open world. You can play games, meet people, go to events. There's like Snoop Dogg there, his house and stuff like that. And people are selling like real estates and lands and stuff like that, and you can buy them. Now they're very expensive. Before when it started, it was less because like big companies are like taking land, so there even like banks and HDFC, not HDFC, I forgot the name, HSBC, I don't know. Okay, there's a bank that bought the land and stuff like that. And there's Decentraland, which is again social experience and stuff like that. So it's a lot of like a gaming kind of a vibe. And you can like all these assets are like NFTs, and we'll go understand what NFTs are if you are not aware of it. So one industry I'm excited about is education, how these 3D experiences can transform education. I think when I started in engineering, before getting into design, like we just had to like read through like flat images and stuff like that. But just imagine if I could visualize a solar system, I could visualize a machine in the virtual world. That amount of retention and engagement is usually very high. So I was doing my master's, right, and I was curious about virtual reality back then. And then the place I studied at Jefferson University, which was mostly about healthcare. Like it's not a healthcare focused school, but then there's a lot of healthcare happening. So I was like, how can I like combine VR with healthcare education and this create like this 3D experiences and stuff like that. So I worked on this project for 1 year. It was a 1 year project. I'll put this project in the resource document to go through if you want to go through the process and stuff like that. So I designed a immersive learning platform for healthcare education. And my professor is to like always like beat me up on, John, don't focus on technology, focus on what problem you are trying to solve. So in 6 months I spent only to understand the problem and see if this technology, like my hypothesis was to if actually solves the problem. So as designers, that's the hardest part. Do not get carried away by the technology. I know it's big ironic coming from me because I'm such an advocate of technology, but first focus on people, focus on identifying the problem, or else you just end up creating a solution for the problem that doesn't exist. And that's one of my career transition. I transitioned from being an engineer to a designer because the approach was like opposite. Here is my project, which was a learning platform for occupational therapy students. This immersive experience gave them opportunity to practice their clinical reasoning skills. So there were like quizzes which will ask them like, is this posture right? Can you look around and see if they're doing it correctly? Is it patient ready for, and things like that. And it got like real-time feedback and things like that. This is very conceptual. I didn't go and develop it further, but I created like an entire experience and storyboards and things like that. So the value of this is like, instead of looking at flat pictures and trying to remember how to do the steps, right? You can be in an immersive platform, and then you can explore, what do you say, how to do the patient transfer and things like that. So the visualization is very strong in education, but definitely you need to find the use case for it and things like that. So there was a big question, what does the process look like, right? Like, we designers are obsessed by process, and I was curious, like, is it a different process for VR, is it, and stuff like that? And the answer is no, the process remains same irrespective of technology. You do start with discovering, understanding the users or stakeholders, or the even the little bit of like market also, and how things are going. And then you create prototypes, and if a lot of UX UI designers create a lot of prototypes in Figma and stuff like that. So you will be creating prototypes for metaverse experiences or like VR experiences and things like that. And then you're validating your concept and measuring if it actually solves the problem and things like that. So in Web3 space, things go very fast. So you kind of have to like be adaptive with your process. Do not get stuck in being a linear approach, but sometimes you create a solution and then you figure out the problem. Sometimes you start with the prototype and you figure out what the product is all about. So there's no like a linear process to it. But then I think the design thinking process of understanding the users, ideating, prototyping, and validating your concept is almost timeless and universal. So you can still apply for your Web3 products and things like that. So I did a lot of storyboarding when I was creating 3D experiences, because if you're doing like wireframes as a UI designer, you're basically setting up a structure or a layout or like a narrative, right? So here also in 3D experiences, you are also creating a journey of the users or a narrative and things like that. So you'll be sketching a lot of like, what do you say, storyboarding and things like that. Even if you create like an AR experience, like you do not start with like coding it and stuff like that. You create a narrative, you sketch out the concept and the user journey. So you do a lot of storyboarding when you're creating like 3D experiences and stuff like that. And there's a lot to learn from like filmmaking, how they make it, and you can apply that in VR experiences and stuff. Because when I was into this 3D world, I felt like a director of how I move my camera in order to focus which side the students need to focus and things like that. So this was 2 years back, but now there is a lot of XR prototyping tool. When I say XR, it can involve augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and stuff like that. So this one is called Shapes XR. Just like how in Figma we bring people and collaborate and like just put comments and stuff. So they're trying like collaboration and things like that. One second, let me drink some water. So your like your usability principles, your problem identifying principles, they all apply here. It's not something drastically different from what you are doing currently or what you are learning as a product designer. So if here are different challenges of interaction design, uh, like there's like an entire video on how people create buttons for VR experiences. And there are like more dimensions to it. Like when you press the button, there's like a sound, there's a feeling, there's a vibration, there's a lot of dimensions that is to it. So your interaction design get level up when you go from like creating 2D designs to creating 3D experiences. And I think usability plays a major role here. Those usability principles, they all remain the same. It's the matter of like how you know to apply them in this 3D experiences and stuff. So I'd also done the project on heuristic evaluation for 3D interfaces and stuff like that. It's quite of a challenge here. There's like a head motion, how people interact, and it's just like very interesting to do this test and stuff like that. So the problem is like these tools, they are very like use case dependent. Like you're going to have to know what you're trying to do and then select the tools rather than take a tool and then try to create a solution. And like, for example, in Sandbox, if you're creating like a game experience in like Sandbox, the metaverse I spoke about earlier, they have given their own set of tools, right? It makes it easier when you develop in their tool set. You can create 3D work. If you're a 3D artist or a 3D designer, you can create like a 3D work, and you don't need to be exceptional. This 3D artwork is very like low poly, or it made in a such a way that it's easier for people to just create something out of their imagination. They help you create like game experiences and without having to code and things like that. And so they give you all the set of things. I think they might be making available to all, but I was able to try the 3D games. So it depends, like sometimes they release to all, sometimes they have like a creator community and stuff like that. But I was able to try the voxel art, creating 3D experiences and stuff like that. So make sure like just concept things out and just look for tools which helps you do it. And there's a lot of tools that help you prototype the XR concepts and stuff like that. For if you are creating like what do you say, augmented reality experiences, so there is something tool called Adobe Aero, which helps you create like interactive experiences. So you need to know what problem you're trying to solve, what is the story or the narrative you are creating as for the users. And then you can like go about selecting tools, and then here you can see you select an anchor point. You can bring your digital asset from your narrative on what you're trying to do. And they have given the presets here, but you can bring your own custom models. And here in Figma, you do just like click through prototypes, right? So here you can do action, trigger, and what the next step would be, and create like a story or an experience for the users in AR as well. This is one of the project it's not a project, it's more of an experiment. We had an HoloLens at the university. It costed like $3,000 and nobody used it. And we were like, let's do an experiment. So I was in a design school, right? There's a lot of like interior designers and stuff like that. So how about like we create like, furnishing this entire room with like digital assets. So we kind of reduce the cost uh, for bringing the furniture and staging, and like interior designers do like staging and stuff like that. How can we like, reduce that step for them to bring all that stuff? So we use like HoloLens to bring this digital assets and place in the world. That's like my like real hand, and that's like the real world, and we are bringing the digital assets and placing over there. And then like people could like walk around and see if they like it or not and stuff like that. And we are also exploring the concept of, okay, if they like this furniture, they could place an order in this digital world, and then the real products comes to your home. Like you can do like bulk order, and all the things you need comes to your home, and you can set them up exactly. HoloLens, they focus in that similar use case where people can't go and do all this work, right? They focus on like dangerous places where the miners are there and expert can't go. So they kind of help them to bridge this gap between digital world and the physical world. And it could be like even create like educational experiences to like creating the solar system and walking kids to it instead of showing them textbooks and things like that. So this metaverse is not solely about gaming, but there's a lot of potential use cases you can find. And I think as UX designers, you kind of have to focus on what the problem you're trying to solve. I mean, gaming does solve a problem of boredom and stuff like that. But there are other use cases you can find as a designer and work with like the founders or like developers and things like that to bring this concepts to life. Or you can be the founder as well and start your own metaverse company. Um, so let's understand the roles and the responsibilities if you want to get into metaverse. My common theme here is to say that your current skills are still relevant. Do not get FOMO. And like it deals with understanding the users, their journey types and stuff like that. And when you're a company working, you'll probably be very active in the community to understand their goals, needs, challenges, and stuff like that. Prototyping the concept depends on what kind of prototype you're trying to do. You'll be collaborating with stakeholders, you'll be collaborating with the developers and product managers and stuff like that. So when I was working in Dice Group with the VR experiences, so I had to create like concepts and prototypes with something that I could get, or I even do like an improv as well, like acting out the VR experience and stuff. So you kind of be creative with your prototyping strategy. Do not get stuck up with the tools. They keep changing over time. Validating the concept, there are companies asking you, can you test an hypothesis? Can you test if this product actually solves the problem or helps them reach the business goal and things like that. Communication and storytelling or storyboarding experience is going to be remain the same, and it's going to be a huge part of no matter what technology or any field you work. I think, one sec. Understanding game design principles and gamification is going to be super helpful. You got to be thoughtful how you implement gamification. You can use that to disrupt a behavior or create a good behaviors in people. So make sure you're being thoughtful as a designer. And when you want to work in a company, you try to bring good things to the table, you'll definitely get shot down, saying like, you focus on the business and stuff like that. But I think as UX designer, we have to like advocate for, if you're creating a gamification model, understand why you are creating it, what problem or what behaviors are you trying to create in your interface. It could be even in apps also. So you got to be careful how you implement it. But if you're creating a game experience itself, you need to understand the story the users go through. There is onboarding, and if you start playing games, right, like any games, like maybe Fortnite, or let's say Far Cry. So they start with introducing the character. They start with teaching you how to use the weapons like slowly and stuff like that. So you need to understand onboarding and the challenges, and you're leveling things up as you go to maintain retention and stuff like that. And there are like some tangible skills. You can learn 3D modeling. There are tools like Spline and Blender, open source tools and stuff like that. And there's Unity has a very high learning curve, but if you want to dive deep into it, it's good to have some Unity experience. This is the same question of, should designer learn to code? I think if you know a little bit of front-end development, it definitely helps your prototypes and UI and stuff like that. Similarly, Unity helps you create like 3D experiences and stuff. There are other engines like Unreal and things like that, but they have a high learning curve. But what's happening in Web3 is, like, since people are creating content, they're trying to create this game engines very easy to use and easy to start with and stuff like that. Right now it's still in an infant stage, but you can see a lot of like game design principles you'll be using as a product UX designer or UI designer or any kind of a designer you call yourself. Yeah, just experiment and explore with UX XR prototyping tools to communicate your ideas and things like that. Those are some tangible skills. And yeah, your research skills always remains very timeless as any kind of a product you work. So yeah, we made it to level 3 now. So let's just celebrate with some office style. So let's go into the level 3. Let's understand NFTs. Also, I just want to like break through presentation flow and jump into Figma and create also live creation of NFT collection as well. So let's understand NFTs. They are basically non-fungible tokens. Again, that's a lot of jargons there. So non-fungible means like it's unique and cannot be replaced. For example, you who are listening here is unique. Like you as a person cannot be replaced by something else. So you are non-fungible. And this is my girlfriend did for me. She did this. You are non-fungible for me cup. So I cannot be replaced. I am like unique for her. So that's fungibility means in NFTs. Let's take an analogy of Mona Lisa, right? I can take a picture of it, and then create more Mona Lisas. But then the true value of Mona Lisa picture lies in the original Mona Lisa picture, right? That has the true value that costs like millions of dollars, that cannot be, recreated again, just one of its kind. So that's what you hear about rarities in NFTs, how rare they are. The more rare they are, more valuable they become. And you can take a screenshot, but doesn't I can take pictures of Mona Lisa, but it doesn't have $1 million of value. So what happens is in NFTs is like it's on blockchain, right? Now you remember me saying this like glass boxes. Now we can verify whose is the real Mona Lisa picture. So that makes blockchain very powerful, and that gives rights to the owner and stuff like that. So you as a creator, content creator, your content is also can be an NFT. So in the industry, there's a focus more towards artwork, right? It is definitely a good use case. I think it gives more power for the artists to own their work, but NFTs can be applied to other use cases. Even people are talking about making like medical records and NFTs and stuff like that. But some of the most common here, you can see this is OpenSea, is a marketplace for NFTs. It's one of it. There are many. So you can see like there are artworks, there are collectibles, even your domain names can be an NFTs. There's music, and there's photography, sports, and trading cards, and utility and virtual worlds. Everything could be made NFT. Even this webinar can be made NFTs, and then whoever wants to own it, they can own it and stuff like that. So there are two things you got to know before we understand our roles and responsibility as a designer. Is there are like two stuff. One is artwork, one is utility. So let's start with artwork. So artwork is something that you like, you want to own it. For example, I love ducks. So I'm like, very curious about ducks. And then I look for like duck NFTs to collect for myself. So I found this collection, I buy it and I own it. And that's all. There's nothing ever that is happening. And maybe like the painting that is there behind, I like it, I keep it, and there's nothing happening around it. So that's an artwork that you personally like, or an asset you keep. People are always buying artworks in the physical world, and this a digital world where people are buying artworks, and this can be verified, the value and stuff like that. So that's an artwork of NFTs. And the second thing is utility. So utility goes beyond being like just a digital asset, but it gives you grants access to like privileges, rights, rewards, or anything like an access and stuff like that. So you guys might know Gary Vee. He's like a marketing guy. He's now a lot into NFTs and stuff like that. Um, so he has this collection, right? He if you see, it's not the best artwork out there. It's just the sketches, and it's been sold for like 10 Ethereums, and it's like probably like one Ethereum is like 2 grand, so $2,000. Like you see, like people are he's selling it for like $11,000 and stuff like that, right? Like that in lakhs in India, and that's not like a amazing artwork out there. But the utility means like they can get, if they own this NFT, they can get access to its conference, they can get a front seat row, VIP access, his parties. So there's a utilities towards it. Even like this Pro Design app, they have their own NFT or something, and you won't want to own certain part of their company as an NFT, and you can get privileges out of it. So that's the utility side of it. Um, it's important to understand it because you'll know as a, if you are like a illustrator or stuff like that, you'll know like where you want to like put your more energy into it and stuff like that. So let's go into that bit specific later. And you can create NFT collections now in Figma. Just a plugin to do that. Again, your design tools, if you're like for visual design, like uh, Photoshop, Illustrator, they still remain same to create artworks, right? There's nothing changing there drastically. But yeah, uh, Figma has like this plugin that create NFT collections and stuff like that. So we'll go create one. That's going to be an exciting one. Yes, so I'll jump into Figma now. Um, so hoping you'll understand what component and variant is, but if not, I'll explain it in a bit. So basically I've created layers here. So an artwork or a piece of art is made of like different layers, right? And so you create different layers, and you create each layer into a component. For example, this is my background, Let's give some color to it. This is my background, and then you create like different variations of it and things like that. And then I create this as a component. One sec. So I create this as a component over here, and then you make variations of these components, and you create like a different layers and things like that. Let me check the time. Where are we? Okay, I think we're good on time. So you create components, and then you create variations of it, and let's say different colors, and you create them as a component over here, component, and then you combine together to create variants. So you create like different layers, and then you can pick the background, you can create another layer and here, and then probably this here. Give him a surprised mouth, and then maybe a body. So you basically create like different layers. It's like an alien. So you create a group and a component, and there's like a plugin called NFT generator. There are many plugins. Just try out whatever works. Some are paid, some are free, some are trial basis and stuff. Unless you don't want to create a collection, don't pay for it. So it will give you, so it also gives you like metadata which you need later when we are publishing your things and stuff like that. So let's generate a unique NFT collection of probably, let's say 100. And there's like rarity settings and stuff. You can learn more in diving deep into NFTs. Again, this is just one tool. There are multiple tools that helps you generate. So now, like, there you go. Like, it created an entire set of different collections. So the thing is, now again, this is not an NFT, right? This is an artwork. So you got to have like to mint this on a platform. Like, you want to take these images and put it on blockchain. You remember the glass boxes? You need to put that to make it your unique NFT. So you can take them, and there are like marketplaces where you can put them, and just putting it on the blockchain is called minting, if you heard that terminology. So you can create your own collections using Figma and stuff like that, or just to just try things out and stuff like that. And if you're a UX UI designer, I recommend to observe how the flows of this experience, of how you take an NFT, how you mint it, how the users are able to complete the task, what are the challenges they are facing. So constantly keep thinking about that. That helps you build, understand patterns of Web3 products is very different from Web 2.0 products. For example, like I said, like users get more power now, means like they own their own keys and passwords and stuff. So now you might not able to do forget password, and there's no organization that you help you out with that. So there are challenges like that, but companies are trying to solve it through educating the users and stuff. So yeah, that's, now we learned about NFTs. We are leveling up now to level 4. Let's do a celebratory dance friends style. So let's go to the level 4. Let me see if something has popped out in the chat section. So awesome. So understanding opportunities here, right? Like, this is an exciting time to be a designer. And I think if you are a visual designer, graphic designer, I know everybody's like jumping into UX UI, which is okay. There's a need for it. But also if you are an illustrator, if you are a very strong visual designer, right? Like, create your own art collection. Like, not to have utility. It can be the artwork that people love to own and stuff like that. It's really hard to just create an collection and what do you say, make it a successful NFT collection. There's a lot of like marketing, there's community development, growth, and stuff like that. So I would suggest like collaborate with other founders, other Web3 enthusiasts who are trying to make it into the space. And there's no like recruitment process and all like before, right? You go through this XYZ behavior interviews and anything like that. In Web3, it's pretty chill. You go be active part of the community, meet the founder, and tell them how you can help, or help community members, and you get noticed, things like that. So you kind of have to work for it and earn your role in this Web3. I think because of Web3 being so visual, if you are like a visual designer, you can have a lot of work to do as a freelancer, or if you work with the organization and things like that. This is one of my favorite illustration. It like warms my heart. This is called CryptoKitties. And just look at like how beautiful the illustrations are, and it's like very well made. The theme is awesome, and people can buy these CryptoKitties as NFTs, and they can breed them. Like they can bring one kitty, another kitty, and create another kitty. uh, there are like CryptoKitty games, like you can have and play games with this character, you own them and things like that. And it's one of the very trending things. And how, look at how good those visuals are. So if you're a visual designer, illustrator, I don't think so you will like run out of work in this space. There's always more. And you got to like stay in touch with people in this industry. Like most of my projects, they come from my friends who are into this space. And then sometimes I might get opportunities and I won't be able to do it because of my other commitments and things like that. So I might pass it on to you. So just stay in touch with people who are into this space and just let them know what you are and what you do and things like that. So keep networking, go for meetups and things like that. So there's a lot of like the previous slides, opportunities for visual, graphic, and illustrators and stuff. And in the communities, they have people make their own stickers and things like that. It's very it's kind of it's a Web3 style, have their own community stickers and things like that. So as a product and a UX designer, my emphasis is your skills, what you have now is absolutely the same, probably gonna be same in the Web3 as well. You'll be focusing on your product thinking, you'll be focusing on your UX research, UI design, interaction design, design systems, and design management and operations and stuff like that. You need not to be like a ninja at this. Design system is something that I'm currently, exploring and like teaching people and stuff. It's not, you kind of learn as you go in this profession. Now you might be good at UI design, and slowly you might focus on product thinking. So what you're learning, like, do continue learning that, and then you can definitely transfer that to Web3 product as well. And then look into like product types which you're passionate about. Like there are like, product designers who focus on SaaS products, some e-commerce. I focus on finance. So that it's just like a niche that you can find that can help you like understand the different patterns and onboarding and things like that. So there are like DeFi apps, like decentralized finance apps. There are Metaverse and XR apps. And then there is like dashboard design, which we currently did one of the project I'll show you. And there's like marketplace designs and stuff like that. This one founder I'm speaking to is creating like a marketplace, and he needs like product designers who can help him out with and stuff like that. Yeah. So this is one of the project we did. I wanted to make sure I'm not just like, giving your like knowledge without doing the actual work. So this is one of the redesign project we did for one of my friend called Anish. This was a redesign of an existing dashboard of this farming as a platform that gives like context of users, the market cap, and how their dividends are growing and stuff like that. Their UI was like pretty bad. It was mostly of like visual redesign thing. We didn't go depth into the strategy part of it and stuff like that. But our product designer is one good friend of mine. He designed all this UI part. This is not my work, but he has done all this amazing work for us. And then I was just doing product design management and just like handling the, what do you say, relationship with the client and stuff like that. And the product owner was my friend Anish, who is a finance content creator, and he was involved in helping them with the marketing and finance and stuff like that. And it was for a brand called CCF. It's called cross chain farming. Basically they give out like dividends by holding their tokens and stuff like that. Yeah, it was like a good project. I think like one of the challenge here is like in Web3, right? People are very fast. Like we asked for 1 month for a design, they're like, oh, we need this in 2 weeks. And things are very fast there, and do not be surprised if that happens to you. But yeah, we built this out for them. We wanted, there are a certain business problem also we tried to solve, because there were certain competitor product who had this something called rug pull, like people take people's money and like run away and stuff like that. So they wanted to like differentiate in terms of their branding and stuff, so that people do not lose trust in them. So as a designer, by creating value proposition for your product to the designs you create, it will help certain solve business problems and create value for them to build trust. There's an article in my resource document about how to build for trust. So Web3 is a place that promises to be trusting, but also fails sometimes to keep up with these promises. So you kind of, as the designer, have to like bridge this gap. Also, these patterns the patterns are very different. Sometimes here it's a common dashboard, everybody can see it and things like that. But there are certain patterns you need to like educate the users, like, hey, you can't forget your key. If you forget it, you can never get it back. People have lost millions of dollars, and as a product designer, you need to be designed for all these errors for which users do. And be very careful of mental models. Like, people are very used to Web2 products. They will apply the similar uh, psychology to the Web3 product as well. So you got to be careful of that. Also, again, if you're working in the finance side, like, there's a lot of data visualization work you'll be doing for Web3 as well. And this is some of the work, again, Mohit did. He's a brilliant UI designer and he's awesome. So he has done all this work. So, if you're learning data visualization or storytelling through data and stuff like that, so continue learning. They're going to be very important for you in a Web3 product. So yeah, my biggest part is like, do not feel the FOMO. Your Web2 skills are very transferable to Web 3.0. If you see, there's like a pattern in things, right? Like, the design process is timeless. Being a designer is the skill set, like the fundamental principles, core, they are timeless irrespective of all technologies you work. I worked in healthcare, sports, AI, all this opportunities I could get. I saw a pattern, right? There's a timeless process. There's a mindset you have a designer, and just learning the bit of technology, how it works, helps you start implementing designing right away. So do focus on that skills. Do not feel FOMO of like, oh, am I going to be extinct now, and things like that. So just continue working what you're working on. And I'm not like saying this, right? There's an evidence behind it. So there's this website called humans.work, which primarily focus about Web3 jobs and stuff like that. This is in California. This is a very American thing. But in India also now there's an opportunity, right? Like, people are looking for Web3 jobs. So you, as a product designer, you could create like and design an entire platform as well for people to find um, Web3 jobs and stuff like that. So you can solve problem like that in a very systemic level as a designer. And you have an ability to prototype and create concepts and things like that. So, go explore this entrepreneurial path as well, if you are not restricted by other things and stuff like that. So here, if you see, this is a job by SuperDAO. DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. I didn't cover that here. But basically the organization is created by voting and stuff like that. So here, if you can see the skill set they're asking for your Figma proficiency, they're asking for your prototyping skills, they're asking for your design systems, understanding, what do you say, that observational, understanding the users. And then if you see like what you're going to do is like, product improvements, testing hypothesis. That's nothing but UX research and testing and stuff like that. Cross collaboration with product managers, developers, and design teams and stuff like that, conducting UX research to test hypotheses and stuff. It's not very different from what you're currently doing now, or at least what you're learning to be that. And if you see, they have put that in the bonus point, right? You are into crypto and desire to dive deeply into Web3. That's, they're asking us like a secondary thing and not like a primary thing. So it depends on the type of product you work, but primarily if you are still working on like decentralized finance apps and exchanges and stuff like that, they primarily remains the same. and now I work in fintech. Before joining, I didn't have any experience, but I was able to tell them I have those necessary skills to learn and do things. Go with that attitude. I'm not sure if the audio is visible on this presentation, but never mind. So there's a interview. She's the design director for Coinbase, and then she says the biggest problem in crypto now is onboarding, getting users, like in a lot of jargons and stuff like that. And they do try to solve certain problems through educating the users. So here, if you can see, I'll try to wrap this up quickly so you can open an open discussion. So they are educating the users, saying that, how it will affect them. And then they're saying that, you can't send money, Bitcoin Cash, and like Bitcoin to Bitcoin, it will be lost. So you're constantly educating. So if you're like learning about learning experience or instructional design and things like that, you can bring that in Web3 as well. So level 5, this is the summary. Let's go into that. Before that, I'll drink some water. And there's an animation there to congratulate you all to making to the level 5. This is the boss level, the final one. So yeah, this is nothing but a summary, final quotes, my thoughts. So Web3 is going to be user-centric and has a user experience designer. You're going to be play a major role to making it more user-centric. The role of being a UX designer, product designer, or any kind of a designer you are, right? I spoke about instructional design. I spoke about visual design. It's going to play a major role in this being adopted by the people. So design is going to play a major role to bridge this gap that exists between the Web 2.0 and Web 3.0, and design lies here in between to create those meaningful experiences for people. So yeah, that's all about Web 3.0. And then thank you. And yeah, I've been creating a lot of content these days. So if you want to follow me, you can do that. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine too. But this is all about Web 3.0. We went through understanding certain terminologies, what it is about the technology, our role, various product types, how we can get involved, and some of the projects we went through. Again, just want to come back and say design is going to play a major role to bridge the gap between Web 2.0 and 3.0. So it's an exciting time to be a designer. Yeah, thank you for staying on this presentation. Still 60 people still remain, and open up for open discussion and Q&As, and I'm happy to answer these questions.
Hi, John.
Hi.
Hi. So I think this was a very, very insightful session. I too learned so much about it. Like I've been reading about it, and the most recent experience that I had with the VR was I tried meditating using Oculus, and
Yeah.
it was like mind equal to blown. So
Wow.
it's like completely different experience. And even though I'm also from an engineering background, and I got into UX writing, then marketing, and then the CMO stuff, the entire cycle. And in the meanwhile, what I learned about design, and now what Web3 has to offer, it made me always very, very curious that, okay, how are we gonna do it, right? How is it different? Then you answered all of the questions. Like it was boom for me. This
Thank you
session
so
was, it
much.
was really great. And I really liked your mug though.
Your mic?
Your mug.
Sorry, can you repeat it?
I really
Mug.
liked your mug.
Oh yeah, she made it for me.
That was a really nice pun.
You're non-fungible to me.
Cool. I think it's time to start some Q&A round. Okay, the
Yeah.
first question is Figma needed in Web 3.0?
Yeah, like I said, like tool is just a medium to communicate. But yes, if you're creating any kind of finance app or dashboards, we primarily use all our projects in Figma. It helps you to collaborate better. And yeah, it's definitely needed. So if you're trying to excel it, do take it forward. And like Web3 companies are asking that as a very primary skill. So do master it. It's definitely helpful. Yeah.
Cool. Mm. Guys, no more questions. We have John for next 15 minutes more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you said you are into content strategy, right? I think that's gonna play a major role. I mean, you were or you explored that path, right? I think how you communicate that language, right, it's going to play a major role. Yeah,
Right. I think it cannot be. We are trying to make it intuitive. We say that design should be intuitive, but it cannot be intuitive till the time people don't know what to do with it. It's you have
yeah,
to
exactly.
communicate like very clearly. There are principles, there are laws, but even to apply those laws and principles, we have to first communicate to the user. Okay, this has to be done, and once they get into that habit of doing it, then it becomes intuitive. It's
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
and I
Yeah,
think that's where the content and the content will play a very major role in it. Plus,
yeah,
especially building the UX, the entire experience around it. So I think designers, it's gonna be a booming market for you,
yeah. So it seems like there's a lot of questions just suddenly popped up from
right?
nowhere. Yeah.
Cool. What do you think about Web3 in home automation, as it is concerned with health sensors that collective sensitive information?
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. Like before I used to be a UX designer, had a company like D&D Smart Labs was all about like physical product, and my co-founder was into sensor technology. Maybe I'll ask him. Let me see if I can answer. Do you think of Web3 home automation is concerned health sensor and collect sensitive information? I think like consent sense. I think like data, how it's owned by the company, and if the data is in blockchain, like companies can't own that data. I think there are two questions there. This one is like health related and one is like data related. So I'll explore the data. Like those data are usually collected to optimize experiences, and some companies monetize it on it. I think if it's built on blockchain, the companies can't own that data, and it's like a back and forth battle or a debate these companies are trying to have, and eventually the regulations will kind of affect it. um, Maybe I'll ask my co-founder what he's gonna say about it, but that's what I think. But there are like two questions in that, so I'm not very sure. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, expected changes in the social media design.
Yeah, I think right now the social media sometimes is designed for you to build addictive behaviors, because it increases the business metric, engagement metric, but it's not good for the users. And so there are competitor products for YouTube and other things where they focus more on people. And also the big part of Web3, all the social media is rewards. What I mean is like you get rewarded or you can make revenue or money by watching content or producing content. Now it's really hard to do that on current social media. It's a lot competitive, but that data you are giving for Web3, they're giving you has like a certain cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. So there are platforms like Stemit. It's like a replacement for like social media blogging, where you get upwards, and then you can generate your passive income and things like that. So those things are happening, but like you said, this adaptation is quite of a challenge because of lack of literacy problem and
Right.
things like that. But you can research to exist a replacement for social media platforms and stuff, and then you can see how they are rewarding the users and how they're trying to create better behaviors for the users and things like that.
Okay. Any recommendation for resources to get started in extended reality space?
Yeah, I think XR again, this could be another entire topic,
Right.
but XR like can be AR, VR, mixed reality. I would suggest like start learning, understanding what VR is, what mixed reality is, what is AR is, and dive deep into this vertical. In terms of resources, I might have to like curate it for you. So if you want something, we can talk offline to gather it based on what you're looking. But there's no one place where you can get everything, right? You kind of have to curate them. But if you were learning the technology side, they're like Unity, has the learning programs where you can go learning how to make a VR experience for beginners and stuff. They're like lessons, free lessons. I had taken that one of it, but that's like the technology side. But they do have a lot of resources, how it's applied for the industries and stuff. So I would suggest like go to unity.com. It's a game engine, and go to their learning section, and there you can find everything you want to get started.
Right. Okay. MetaMask can be considered as a Web3 product, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's basically a wallet that lets you collect to different metaverses and stuff. Not metaverse, like dApps and stuff like that. Like it's like a key you have. You can take that key and go to different MetaMasks, use that MetaMask to access Web3 products and stuff. Yeah, it's definitely, and it's a very adapted, extension of things like that. Yeah.
So one question I have from you. So how did your interest or like your journey shifted towards it? Like, okay, you started working, the entire basic principles and laws applies, that will remain the same. But how did you gain so much of experience, in the small amount of time that we had the, like we got to know about Web 3.0, it's like very new. So how was
Yeah.
your journey transformation, like in a summary?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's Web 3.0, right? Basically it's not drastically entirely new, right? It's a packaging of like what is being built over time, right? Like I was excited about XR, VR and stuff, and then when that metaverse things came, and like the Oculus and stuff like that being very adaptive to consumers and stuff, it's still, there are a lot of problems, right? I was quite passionate about the problem, why it's not accessible. Like the retention time in VR is just 15 minutes. After that, you get exhausted. So I was like, is there solution for it? And then I start like digging all through that, and then companies started, trying to make this VR glasses and everything and other. So I think working on that virtual reality project was a trigger. And after that, I'm like surrounded with like my content creators and influencers friend who are like, it's like Web3 crypto and all the time. It's like, I need to know what is this. I can't help it. And I love innovation. My
Putting
friend
peer
Anish,
pressure helped you.
yeah, that's very true. I think I am generally curious. All designers are like you are too.
Right.
I think, and my friend Anish, like he kept bringing me projects. I was like, no, I have to do my work. He keeps bringing me projects, and I have to learn it to deliver. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a question that, hey, it's from Abu. He says he's a civil engineer and interior designer, now turned as a UX designer, and he just wants to seek work in Web3 with space development in Metaverse. So I want to, like, he wants to understand how they can incorporate 3D walkthrough through web. Can you educate about it? Like, he uses SketchUp Pro and Lumen. Is that okay?
I think, yeah, I think I wouldn't, I'm not saying like specifically these tools will help you to transition, but having a 3D and interior design experience with the engineering background, I think it's definitely will play a helpful role. What I would suggest is like you can specifically start looking into or being involved in metaverse projects and start helping those founders or communities out, share your expertise. Software, they keep changing, honestly. Like I actually used to be an industrial design. I changed my profession 3 times: engineer, industrial designer, and then UX designer. So when I was industrial designer, I what do you say, explored a lot of like 3D modeling and stuff like that, right? So they help you. I think when you do 3D modeling, you build a mindset of how to use 3D software, so you're able to transition to whatever the company is using. I think, package that experience into working with products. Really hard to do by yourself, by yourself alone. I wouldn't say it's not possible, but it's hard. So see if you can be involved in the project and start sharing your expertise with those founders and creators, and things like that, or even start writing or blogging about how this experiences can help in metaverses and stuff. In terms of 3D modeling, yeah, I think if you can communicate a concept through using your 3D modeling and you can render them and all the stuff, they do go a long way. Yeah, I think those are still relevant. You have a good experience. Also, I also want to give a quick disclaimer. Is like this space is really brutal and can be hard. It's not to discourage, but like, do not get so hyped by the hype that is being created. Be careful, and this is something still picking up. So make sure you can make your living with whatever means, but make sure you are having certain backups and stuff like that. It's not to discourage, but I've seen like project that starts and they always say we are here to stay, and in 2 months they are not there. So yeah, it's exciting exploring it on the side, be involved in communities, and use your 3D modeling to create concepts for them. You never know where you might end up.
There was a subject, I think engineering, in your engineering, ED, if you remember, engineering drawing.
Yeah,
I was like, I think from there you picked up your skills for industrial design.
yeah. Actually, I wanted to be a musician during engineering, and then after that, I was like, oh damn, I can't make anything out of this. So I learned the 3D modeling, but that's more technical design, right? But you can more get it to more creative design. Like there's like parametric, non-parametric, and things like that. But yeah, like you said, engineering was a bit of a trigger. But after I got interested in engineering after engineering, and that design, like 3D modeling, led me to, uh, you know, ask what this design is all about. Yeah, I went to a lot of training center in Bangalore, and everybody started teaching me tools, but I realized it's more than that. So that's why I went for getting education to understand the strategic side of it. Yeah.
Okay, I think the next question is about your shift from being an engineer to designer. You just, I think, answered it.
Yeah, I think being multidisciplinary these days definitely helps. And also, here's the thing, right? I studied mechanical engineering. That has nothing to do with UX. I don't think so. There's something transferable there. But here's the thing, right? I might be passionate about creating an app that helps to visualize machines and engines well in the virtual world or AR experiences to be understanding. So I think you look back and you connect the dot, your multidisciplinary experience is always helpful. You need to know how to structure that to your benefit and create your story and stuff like that. But I think if I had to start, I would do computer science and then be a designer later. But yeah, I think it's exciting times nowadays. You can be whatever you want. You dedicate 6 months and you learn a lot of it, because of the resources you have out there. Yeah.
Okay, so please show us how to mint on blockchain as an example used on any popular website.
Yeah, I think for minting, you can either do it on OpenSea or you can do on solanaart.com or .io or something. But there are two famous marketplaces. So minting is basically, there are different blockchains. There's like Ethereum blockchain, there's like Solana blockchain. So like there's something called gas fees, like you need to pay money to mint your NFTs. Ethereums are a bit expensive, where Solana is a less price and stuff like that. So you can mint them on Solana blockchain using their sites and stuff like that. It's a straightforward process. You can do that in like half an hour and stuff like that. It's not difficult. People have made it easy, but there's a lot of UX challenges. You can see they use a lot of jargons. But yeah, I think minting is pretty straightforward process nowadays. Yeah, it's like there are like tutorials on mint NFTs in 10 minutes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so my last boss told me it's the UI which creates a great experience, and there is no such thing as UX designer. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally disagree with your boss, and I wouldn't work for him. Sorry. I think the debate between UX and UI
Never ending.
it comes to what problem you're trying to solve, right? Then the modes of designs, like how you sometimes it's the problem UI need to solve. And here's the thing, right? In the industry, it's primarily been about UI. People hardly care about UX. But then as designers, you need to continue advocate for it. He's practically right, but I disagree with him. This is something I tell to people while mentoring is the industry is broken. That doesn't mean you have to be broken too. So I think I would respectfully disagree with him, and I would say explain him. It's primarily they are both related, right? It's like you need both hands to do work properly. You can do with one hand, but it's more efficient if you have both.
I think, John, before you can stop sharing your screen so that
Yeah.
it would be really, yeah, now it's much better. Cool.
Uh,
Okay, I think we'll be able to take like 2-3 more questions. So, what are your thoughts about subscription-based companies with Web 3.0? How will they adapt to the changes?
Subscription base. I think it's like a new model in Web 3.0 is like you own their token. It's not you buy a subscription, you own the piece of their token and you like invest in their tokens and then they, kind of use that as a subscription model. I think it comes down to the use case and what business model they prefer and things like that. But it's an interesting thing to see how subscription business will be, or maybe like all your content could be NFTs. And then if you have like their token or their NFTs, you can access their content through the NFTs. Like what I mentioned about utilities and things like that. For example, this Pro Design app, right? Like you can own their NFTs and you can get access to their courses and stuff like that instead of being subscription. So I think you can be creative with business models here and subscription models and NFTs and stuff like that. And utilities is the thing to look into if you're trying to find a replacement for subscriptions. Yeah,
I think we have to release an NFT now. You had mentioned it so like 3-4 times.
everybody should. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges. It's nice to say, but if you all do, let me know. I will buy
Yeah,
one.
definitely, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
what are the challenges you faced while getting into Web 3.0?
I think like I didn't personally push myself to get into Web 3.0. I was just curiously following and learning, and just things happened to me. I think the biggest challenges you or me or will face is things change very fast here. And then it's really hard to keep up. I don't dedicatedly spend every day learning about Web 3.0. I focus on the timelessness and how design can drive innovation. But I think keeping up with things change. And you don't know what to trust in this space, even though it promises to be trustful. I think those are the biggest challenges. I think keeping up. But there are like apps, like I use like Alien app. It gives me like Web3, updates and stuff like that. So there's a lot of like good information keeps coming. As a product designer, it's in the resource document. Maybe I'll share later. Or there's called dApp Radar. They list of all the Web3 products. It helps me to like keep track of what kind of a patterns they are using, just going through that and stuff like that. But yeah, I think biggest challenge is just keeping up how fastly it's changing. Yeah, because I don't want to tell one tool, right? It's gonna change soon. Yeah. Yeah.
Like we are here to stay and 2 days after.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, but it's still in an infant stage, right? People compare this to be the earlier beginning of internet, where people say, "Hey, you make money on internet. That's not going to happen," and people's very bullish about it. It similarly happened to Web3 space, but I think the product types might not be here to stay because some disappear. But I think Web3 is just a transition to solve the Web 2.0 problems. But there's a lot of political, economical things that go behind it. Like big companies will get threatened, they start putting regulations, they have money, they start acquiring companies. So there's a lot of political which I don't want to discuss here. Yeah, this is for design.
Cool. I think we'll take one last question. I hope the marketing campaigning and strategy will be totally different from 2.0 and 3.0. Can you please tell us what are the challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, I think marketing. I have one of this mentor called Arjita Sethi. She is into a lot into this space. The thing is like the marketing will be focused on, it's my interpretation, this is not a source of truth, but it focus on building communities and then kind of slowly transitioning to like monetizing models and stuff like that, because they need to trust you first. I think building trust in marketing is going to be major role. Second one is education, and that's what's happening now in like content creator space. Like people are educating and eventually they're like marketing. So instead of selling you ads or bombarding, buy this course, like build a community, understand what they need, you solve their problem, you create value, and that's the best marketing you could do. So I think see, marketing, again, the principles of marketing remain same. It's about the form or medium changes. So I think I would say education and community centric are the going to be like marketing approaches moving forward with Web3.
Like you mentioned earlier, that it's really easy to connect on Web3 with people. You just be a part of their community, help someone. It will help you get, noticed easily. I think
Yeah,
that would be something which marketers can start focusing upon,
yeah, that's
making it
absolutely
more
correct.
community oriented. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, one last question. What is your opinion on Web 5.0? I know we are still at infant level on Web 3.0, but could highlight on what is the vision of Web 5.0.
No, I think that's just a clickbait thing. I think people are started renaming things like that. But I haven't dived deeper into that thing. But it's just like a clickbait thing that is happening on the internet and stuff. Uh, so if what if like everybody starts naming different versions of the internet, right? That's going to be a disaster. So I just stick with Web3 because that's universally accepted. Uh, but yeah, I think it's just not another transition. It's not entirely new, but it's definitely new patterns, but it's transitioning of the internet to be more user centric. Yeah.
Okay, one last question in the channel, and then I think we'll call it a wrap. If cryptocurrency is based on blockchain and is supposed to be decentralized, but platforms like CoinDCX ask for Aadhaar verification, how do we justify that?
Yeah, this is where things get political and economical, right? I think I try to that's a good question. I wish like nobody asked that, but they did. But I think like again, there's like regulatory concerns like this, like because there's a lot of Web3 might struggle to keep up with these promises, because there's a lot of like if your identity is not known, you can use that for dangerous activities and stuff like that, and terrorist activities and stuff. So I think the regulations will come into picture and saying that we need to know who the customer is. And even though this is the fight of Web3 versus Web2, where they want to be decentralized, but the giants will try to regulate things, and then they're like, we have to do KYC and things like that. And also like like things like forgetting your password. Right now, what if all people start losing the password? So you need to have certain entity who can like help people out. Again, it's promised to be decentralized, but it's hard to be that. It's a slow transition. And eventually there's a lot of political and economical and big companies trying to fight through this, who are trying to live up to this expectation is going to be affecting. So I just look out for how economics of it work out. Like I kept mentioning that these are the promises, but it not always can live up to it. But I think we should definitely keep high on the economics and regulations, and eventually like it's them who control and all that stuff. So you got to keep, but that's definitely a genuine question. I love that. Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah.
Cool. I think we are all out of questions now. And thank you so much, John, for joining us today. And educating me and everyone about Web3 and how their careers are gonna be impacted and how everything still remains the same. It's just the pace and the way they're gonna implement will change. So thanks a lot. And I would just want to say, guys, that we have aimed to conduct 50 plus more free workshops on ProApp with design enthusiasts like John himself. And after the call and after the webinar is over, all I would ask is that there's gonna be a small survey form that will be rolled up on your screen. Just fill it up so we'll know at what time, what topics you are interested in, and we'll get more people like John in the community. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you for having me.
Bye bye. Have a good day.